was asked to do a little video on the type of tail mount that I use. Now the tail mount I'm using now is not the one that I used when I first flew Woody in the first season, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that, because on the first season what I used was the plectrum idea, which was this sort of idea. You can see here I made one out of an actual guitar pick from that's what I use when I'm playing my guitar, one of these type things. Trying to make them small. That one was a second-hand one, and then I made this one out of carbon fibre, trying to keep it light. So I did use that for a time, but it didn't really work. And so this one didn't work, this carbon fibre, well, I thought it was a good idea because it was nice and light. And all I done was got a tail clip. I used a Dremel to cut 2 slits, put that through, and then clamp the end over. And I thought the idea was good, but what it kept doing was getting under one of the other feathers like that and sort of getting caught. Anyway, it's just something I tried. These 2 feathers here are from the train, but they're not the decks, so they've got a bit of a curve in them, but I'm just going to use that to show the way I did it on the first season. What I used on the first system was this. I made that out of an enlarged version of that, which I made first of all, and I thought that was sort of about the right size. And I did the same thing, I put the tail clip through and folded the ends over. Drilled 2 small holes there, and then I used a bell. Now the bell I used on the first season was this one, but this one is a copper one that I've made myself. So this year I probably will use copper, but on the first season I used that one. So what you do, this is not a teaching video on how to make these parts, but basically what you have is a piece of leather, and it's kangaroo leather which I'm using, kangaroo hide. You put a tiny hole in the centre there, and then slip that through the hole so that bow doesn't move up and down, so it stays on that part. And then all you need to do then is put that through the 2 holes that are in that. I'll call it a plectrum because I think that's what people used to use and still make, but I don't use this anymore. I've gone to a different system which I'll show in a minute, but that's what I did on the first season. So that's on there. Then these 2 small straps, you can just make a small V in them, fold them over into the shape where they will sit nicely on the deck. So you have one on one deck, one on the other. Obviously you take more care than I'm doing here because you've got your hawk cast up. And then they go on there like that. A small piece of super glue there, then that just literally glues on there, and that one's going onto the other deck. And then from there you can either use twine around there, which takes time, nice neat job, or which I do or did is just pop a cable tie on. Remember that's glued on there now, and then you put the cable tie around, and so that's glued on there. Cable tie, snip the end off, one more there, so you've got 2 small cable ties on there and on there, so that's where your plectrum will end up, like that is what I did. And then all you do is clip in your transmitter Now for me and the style of hunting that I ended up doing, and it's only because of the area that I live in and the land that I have permission on, that system proved negative by the end of that first season for me, and that was due to heavy woodland and bramble. And by the end of the season, and it was in the last 2 weeks, that system there, that idea for me ended up breaking the 2 decks. I had one deck break about 3 weeks before the end of the season. I didn't notice it was a small crack, and then another one broke. So I actually broke 2 decks by the end of the season using that idea. It's great because when the hawk is in the wood and it gives you the tail wag, you can hear it. You can hear the bound quite nicely, and you know where your hawk is. But what I do now is I've got rid of this system now. So what I'm doing now is what I did last season. I put one bow on the anklet on a Buick, so the bow is no longer on the deck feathers. So what I'm not getting in the wood, when I can't see the hawk, is the tail wag. All I'm getting is a bow when the hawk flies, which has been okay. I prefer the tail wag and getting the bow, because then I know where the hawk is when he's not flying. But because of the 2 deck feathers that got broken, I've now gone to literally just mounting the telemetry on the deck. And it's sort of quicker to do, quicker to put on. I put last year's one on whilst the hawk was mantling over a piece of rabbit. I got a piece of rabbit that had a nice bit of bone on it, and the hawk was mantling up, and whilst he was mantling I put the telemetry on, and that is on one of the videos. I'll put that link in the description. It's just on the first part. So with this idea, so you choose your feather that you're going to put your clip on. Now if your hawk isn't letting you do this for any reason, you might need casting up. Then you know that's something that you've got to do. But for me, I was fortunate enough twice now. I've actually fitted this system I was talking about just now with the hawk mantling. I've done all that whilst it's mantled up, and this one is quite easy while it's mantling. What it'd be like this time, I don't know, but all you do is you find out exactly where you want to put this clip there, and make sure it's up the right way. There's 2 very tiny notches in one side of these, and that's where your clip sits down in. So the notch normally sits towards the top of the feather. All you got to do is put a small piece of super glue. I'd say put it inside the channel of this clip, and then put the clip onto the deck feather, just like that. Get it square, then take the tool, come over the top, and then clamp, and then it's done. It's on. It's quite quick, and once that glue goes off in there, that'll be nice and secure. And then all you've got then is this tiny little clip there sitting on top of that deck. So I've got no more. Have I got that ball on there, the plectrum, and that's quite a lot that catches up. I think this is a great idea if you're flying your hawk at a display or on fields where ferrets maybe are driving the rabbits out, you're ferreting, and the hawk's got a nice long flight and there's no hazards. But for me personally, I've got too many hazards, and I've come to use this idea here, which is for me great. Then all I've got to do is pop that on there like that, as quick as that, and to take it off it's the same. There's less hazard, and that once on, if I've got it up high enough, it's pretty much covered, and all I'm seeing is that little bit of aerial there, so there's less to catch. So that's what I'm doing now. So for the person that asked me to talk a little bit about what I'm doing on the tail mount, that's it, that's what I'm doing. Now it depends on what you're flying on, where you're flying, hazards. You've got to make your own mind up, or ask whoever is helping you out with your falconry to get the best idea. I started off with the other idea because that was what was suggested to me, but I've realised it's not what we need for what we're doing. And there's lots of good people on YouTube. You can go and look, just look at Buick making. It's quite straightforward once you've done it. And again, that Buick, I just put that on the hawk whilst he was eating, or I think he might have been on the scales when I was weighing him. But that's the bell I used last season, and this year I made my own one out of copper. I bet it's got a nice little ring to it, so that's what I'm going to be using on his Buick this year. So literally he's going to just have the tail mount clip on one deck, so that's all that's going to be on his tail. Of course we haven't got that bell now when he's giving that tail wag, but only when he's flying. But that's copper, and I think that's got quite a nice sound, so I'm going to use copper. My dog also, Chewy, I'm sure you've seen the little flashing dog I use. He wears this little collar. I do prefer normally not to have a collar on a dog, and I've been doing rabbiting for years, but not with hawks, so, and I've used dogs, and generally I wouldn't use a collar at all, so they're not going to get caught up. But my little dog, he also has a bell, and this is another one that I made out of copper, and I may have to change that to get a different tone to this bell the hawk's going to have this year, this copper one. I'm probably going to use a small bell, maybe like that, so I've got two different tones. And I soon get used to which is the dog and the hawk, and I know where they both are when we're out in the woods. Now as far as what I use to track the hawk down, I've got two different receivers. The first one is a TinyLoc, and it is nice and tiny, and I use this one purely because when I'm in the wood and bramble, it's quite small, so I can track through the wood quite easily with that. It doesn't take up too much room. I can go under branches and find the hawk through if I need to, and I have had to track him down on a few occasions in the wood. I've even tracked the hawk down and found him down a rabbit hole with this one. One time we was out and the actual telemetry undone. There's a little nut on the back of these, which I didn't realise at the time you needed to put a bit of Loctite on, so it came out. The clip was still on, but I'd lost the telemetry, and it was way over that way, and I tracked that down. It's probably 2.5 miles with the TinyLoc, and found that tiny little thing. And that's happened twice where we've lost the telemetry now, and I've found it with this TinyLoc. And I've found the hawk about 4 times when I've needed to track him with this TinyLoc. What I think about this TinyLoc is it's good and it does work, but personally I think it's a little bit slower than the one I used before, and I'm going to show you that one. The one I used before has got a massive antenna on it, and it's a big bit of kit, and to go through a wood with it is very, very difficult. And because we are in sort of a woodland area quite a lot, even though some clear patches in the wood, it does end up taking me on sometimes a bit of a challenge hunt for him to track him down. So I think these are good as a small receiver, but personally I feel that they're a little bit spongy. And when I say spongy, I mean the area of tracking down seems to be here, so you can end up wandering off 500 meters out the way and then slowly come round. So I feel that you can end up doing a bit more walking with that. It's not so direct. You can get a good signal if you're fairly close and get a nice direct line of sight with this one, but I still feel I'm slower with it. It's taking me a little bit more time. I have to spend a bit more time trying to find direction with that one, but that is the one I use all the time now. So it is a good bit of kit for Harrishawk. No idea what it would be like if you was chasing falcons with it, but certainly for my Harrishawk, that generally is only going to go a few hundred meters away, up to a couple of miles. He can do, and he has done, and I've found him with that, but it's a slow track. So then the TinyLoc, it just folds up like that, nice and small in its little case, and then zip down on the back of the bag, in she goes, zip up, and that just literally sits in my backpack like that. Lovely, really nice and small. The other one that I was using before, this one, you can only carry it over your shoulder, and that's quite a lump to carry around. You can get smaller ones of these, and my mate, the falconer, he's got a smaller version with smaller antennae, and I think that would probably be a very nice one to use. This is a Luxander, but you see the size of this when opened up. It's a bit of kit, nice bit of kit. But so there you've got some pretty big antennas, or aerials. There's probably a name for them that I'm not using correctly, but that is a big old beast to track a Harrishawk down with in the middle of a wood, because as far as although it's good, there's a lot there that's going to get caught up all the time. Now I have used this one, and I will say that it's very fast and accurate. So when I get a signal on the hawk with this one, there's a nice display there. I can really pinpoint where the hawk is with this and pretty much go straight to it. But it's literally only the size of it that stops me using this all the time. That TinyLoc for me is brilliant, but not quite as quick. So if you're in a hurry trying to find a hawk, this one's good. The TinyLoc a little slower, but still works well, and it's a good bit of kit. So the TinyLoc is the same as most of the others. They've got a gain. It's a bit like a metal detector really, same sort of thing, but working in a different principle, but still have a gain. So the gain now is right down, and you can see it's beeping at a quieter rate, and it's going from sort of 48, 54, 48, 54. So as I bring this round towards the target, the beat gets louder, the numbers go up. So louder, quieter. And you're just relying on that signal, that strength, that number. And the closer you get, the more you can turn the gain down. gets quieter when the gain is down, louder, the closer you get, and it works just like that. So the closer you get, the further you turn the gain down, and when you start off, you turn the gain up. Of course, now we're too close, so all we're getting is 99 maximum signal. So in reality, if you was out now, you start to turn the gain down, and then you direction the receiver until you get a close beep or a high number and a louder beep, and then walk towards that signal. And then the closer you get, the more you turn the gain down. So that's quite simple, that one, and it does work. Well, this other one I've got, the Luke Sander, you've got two ons because you've got two 9-volt batteries in there. So if one dies, you've got another one, which is quite good. So there's no battery in that side because I haven't got one in there, but put the other side on, and you've got this quite, for me, it's nice and easy to see, whereas the TinyLoc isn't quite as easy to see. That's quite a nice clear flick and sound. You can turn the gain down again if you're too close, and as you come on target, it just moves up like that. But I quite like the way you can see that needle moving, and to me that's quite clear, but it's just too big for walking through the woods. But still the same sort of principle, they both do the same job and they both work. So there you go, I hope that's answered the question, what town mount do I use and what gear, and certainly that is more to carry around than that, so you probably see why I've been using that one. TinyLoc, I get my stuff from Falconry electronics on the internet, batteries or these transmitters. In fact, I bought that TinyLoc from them. Very pleased, good after sales stuff, can recommend them. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoy your season's hunting, and maybe something that I've said here today will help you. I try not to be a teacher. I don't think I've been doing it long enough, so all I'm doing is showing you my ideas, and I think they work well for myself, and maybe they'll work well for you. Thanks a lot.